because to me, if he didn't even have consent to record the video, then this is a whole different ballgame. Like it's a whole different plan of action of like how I am going to process what's going on.
Right. But to your knowledge, he did have consent to record, just not to share it.
Just to me, like recording somebody and then without their knowledge and leaking it is like a full-on, like it's a pretty like sexually invasive crime. Leaking somebody's nudes, I think, is also really bad. To be clear, like it is really bad. But the issue is that I think it's fundamentally just more common.
Here we go. So recently, 2 ex-girlfriends of Turkey Tom came out with allegations on him on Kiwi Farms, of all places. Their names being Katie, aka Left 4 Dead, while the other girl went under the Sacramento Girl alias. The allegations brought up were sexual violence, being a disgusting hoarder, narcissistic, having ED, recording without consent, and being unloyal. Now, our story begins with Sacramento Girl coming out on the Kiwi Farms with this post. Hi Kiwi people. I dated Tom for a few months after meeting him on Tinder. I'm not super into internet stuff and have no idea what Kiwi Farms was, but his page was always his #1 search Safari thing that pops up on his iPhone when he went to Google or something. When I asked about this website, he got super defensive and weird about it. So obviously I looked into it and I found all of this crazy shit, like him admitting to being bisexual. Messaged the owner of this website, Joshua Moon, to get the code to post here. Basically, I started to get suspicious about all the e-girls he's followed and interact with. And he started raging at me. He also lied to me at first about the fact he does YouTube. He did some crazy shit like kick holes in his wall at a house he was renting because some e-girl who copies Belda Fiend got hacked. And the hacker was blackmailing him with his dick pics. He continued to talk with her after the fact. I have screenshots confirming all this, and I attached a couple, but I think I have more. This guy is a real freak and likes to record sexual encounters without asking first during almost every time. I know for a fact he does this to at least one other girl, serial gooner, and has flown out several e-girls to sleep with. He told me he has a file on his computer called Just In Case. That's basically voice memos or calls from his exes to blackmail them with in case they ever say something about him. Thought I would get the message out and confirm y'all's suspicions. Also, if this gets out, to warn other young women in the Texas area about this dude. So after this post, she shared some evidence, so a lot of this evidence did add credence to what she was saying, and on top of that, she also revealed the reason why they broke up. The reason they broke up was because she brought up his Kiwi Farms page where she learned a lot of stuff about him. Apparently, Tom had kept his whole YouTube thing a secret from her, and he was still talking to e-girls behind her back, which bothered her, and she had a crash out. And because of this, he used it against her, and after that, it basically became a mutual breakup. But it's obvious that there's still some bit of, I guess, harsh negative feelings between each other. Now, shortly after this is where Katie herself jumps in with her own set of allegations. Hi, finally made an account. Yes, Tom is extremely harsh during sex. I've been down the kink roads in my life, and how he acts is actually just evil and almost sadistic. Not even kinked up, just actually a Patrick Bateman type gooner. Fist Girl already posted some of my screenshots, but if anyone has questions or wants specific proof, or try to see if I can answer. He also said how it was awesome I looked like a little girl the first time we had sex. Told me he was excited to learn I had BDPP because girls with it love harder. L, so retarded. Keep that statement in the back of your mind, ladies and gentlemen. Now she shows some text messages that she had with some of her friends and family members after meeting Turkey Tom, which is just her talking about how violent he is during sex and how we left some bruises on her. But things get interesting though when we learn of another girl named Ellie who dresses in Japanese fashion that seems a bit childlike, but also owns some lolicon themed items. Now originally Tom denied ever meeting up with her as he found her creepy. However, photos of them together say otherwise. Now this would probably start the age play allegations, but that would come from someone else. Don't worry, we'll get into him later. By the way, one of the ex-partners of this Ellie girl also posted this on their Instagram, detailing their experience with her. With her even responding with her own post shortly after. Now, people did a bit of digging and found old posts of this chick, just showing how much of a degen she really is, which I'm not showing on YouTube, by the way. Oh, and remember that age play allegation that keeps popping up with Turkey Tom? Let's talk about Aiden for a bit, because he came out saying that Kai, who was one of Tom's ex-girlfriends and arguably his longest relationship, was into age play, and that former commentator Lyrics was the one who told Aiden. And by the way, Lyrics is Kai's current boyfriend. Now, this led to Kai putting out her own response in a Google Doc. I'll leave a link to the document in the description below if you want to read it for yourself. But the main takeaway that I got from this is that, for one, she denies ever being into age play and that Tom was not in it during their relationship. Two, she confirms that a blackmail folder did exist, but that was only because she threatened to ruin his career during one of their breakups. Also, in this Google Doc, Kai reveals that the relationship was toxic on both ends. Both her and Turkey Tom would sometimes cheat on each other or break up multiple times. Now, Manlit Aiden himself went on his stream showing a message that Lyrics had sent to him after this Google Doc, and I'll just let you play the clip.
I had reiterated a claim in my server that I had been told by Lyrics about Kai and Tom engaging in age play 2 years ago, and it was insinuated that I was just bullshitting, that I made this up. I think Toastify was one of those people. And I wondered to myself, God, man, it would be so great if this hadn't occurred over call and did occur over DMs. How's this for a lie? How's this for a lie? We got to talk. What I needed to say to you was years ago, when I told you that stuff, I needed to say to you was years ago, when I told you that stuff about Kai or Tom, it was bullshit gossip, which I was doing a lot around then. I mean, talking to Jalen of all people about all this, the Tom Carr stuff, was probably the dumbest example. I was exaggerating shit to gossip because I was a loser who was doing shit out of spite at the time. So it sucks you leaked one of my exaggerated lies, but I mean, I shouldn't have told them in the first place. So yeah, this was years ago though, man. So much has changed with me in my life. I'm just trying to move on my own stuff. So there you go. You know what? I respect it. I respect that he is willing to admit that it was supposedly his lie, that I was simply reiterating, and I didn't lie.
Now this leads us to the interview with Kiwi Farms creator No. Again, I'll leave a link in the description below to the full interview, as it's 2 hours long, but here's some important details that stand out during that interview. For one, Sacramento Girl tells us that she dated Tom for 7 months, and he would be violent during sex, with him slapping and beating her. He would also be unable to finish unless she was in pain. She also said she wouldn't be able to say anything most of the time, as he would cover her mouth, and the times that she did say something, Tom would just ignore it and continue to be violent. While Katie just alleged that Tom would just be violent in general. No sex or sex. Now, both girls alleged that during sex, Tom would secretly record them, with them only realizing 30 seconds later. And the reason why? Well, it would be because he couldn't finish during sex, and so he'd use the footage to climax. When both girls would ask for the videos, in order to know what exactly was in them, he would decline or just ignore their requests in general, with Sacramento Girl even considering law enforcement at this point, as she never gave consent to recording. Oh, and apparently when he saw them naked for the first time, he said they look like little girls. Seriously, what the fuck? Anyways, there's some other stuff. Apparently Tom was ashamed of his YouTube career and hated being called Turkey Tom, or that he wished he was a guitarist, with him even buying a guitar and not really using it. Again, link below to the full stream. So I kid you not, while I was editing this, another girl came out with her own story, and this is his first relationship. Now, what's interesting is that this girl had actually appeared in some of his earlier videos, but long story short, they met during high school and they had a long distance relationship or so for a year. And one of the noteworthy things to point out in her Google Doc is that apparently while they were dating, he would share her face with other people in his Discord without really her permission. However, apart from that though, nothing really stands out in this Google Doc, if I'm being honest. And compared to all the other women, this one might be the insignificant when compared to the rest. I mean, you could argue that the signs were there from the beginning, you know, not respecting some women's wishes or being messy when ending relationships, but even then though, that's a bit of a stretch. Anyways, back to past me. And that leads us to today. I'm probably going to hold off on covering the story any further until something big happens, like, you know, Tom's response. I will say this is definitely not a nothing burger of a story, as there's definitely something here, and Tom 100% needs to respond to this. However, there's a couple issues that I take with this whole entire situation. For one, why Kiwi Farms of all places? I'm sorry, but if I were to expose an ex of mine, especially of someone this size, I would have used other platforms like YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, hell, even make a Google Doc and get the story out there instead of, you know, drip feeding on Kiwi Farms. And nothing against Kiwi Farms, but Kiwi Farms is such a, I guess, obscure website when compared to the rest. So, again, I would use a much more easily accessible website. Second, the lack of urgency. Before the interview, they were sort of just drip feeding this info on Kiwi Farms, and there wasn't really any urgency in releasing the info as quick as possible, especially if the two damning allegations are having possibly revenge porn in his folder and also abusing them and, hurting them during sex. I'm sorry, but if my ex did that and I was to expose them on the internet, I'd try and get that out as quickly as possible. Not to mention, they were also adding some unnecessary details while explaining the whole, I guess, allegation. I don't know, that to me just doesn't sit right well with me. Now, the folder as well. So, earlier in Kai's statement, we learned that Tom had made a folder to sort of protect himself considering Kai threatened him. Now, if that was the same case in this, with these two, I would be a little bit more understanding and I wouldn't really blame him. However, considering the fact that both girls allege that he recorded them during sex and refuses to show it to them or even let them know what's in the folder, makes me a little bit shady on Tom's part. And I would really hope he addressed this as well, because this could possibly be damning, especially if the girls are going to take law enforcement on this one. Then there's the age play. Mainly what I'm talking about is the Kai one. If I'm being honest, I don't think we'll get an answer on this one, or at least the truth, because quite frankly, there's a good chance Tom will deny it. Kai has already denied it. Lyrics has himself said that it was an exaggerated lie. But then you also wonder, well, granted, I understand, going through a breakup, you say a lot of things that are stupid, out of sheer sad guilt, anger, but he said exaggerated lie. Where did that come from? There has to be some root of truth to that. Will we ever know? Probably not. And if I had to guess, all three of them are probably going to say it was all bullshit and it was out of sheer anger, just to save face. Oh, and before I forget, another girl recently came out on Twitter, revealing that she also dated Tom for 2 months. Yeah, that's it. There's literally nothing else to the story. And yeah, she's off Twitter. She was literally bullied off of Twitter. However, if this story couldn't get any more crazy, apparently there's some trans girl coming out saying that they dated Tom for 2 months, and in that time frame, Tom had paid for their surgery, only to cut them off towards the very end, which, I'm sorry, I don't believe this person in any shape or form, and a lot of people are raising eyebrows on this person as well, because for one, they're potentially tied to Rose Malay, which that's already a red flag, but also, who in their right mind would talk to someone for 2 months, pay for their surgery, and then not talk to them at all right? I'm sorry, I just don't see anyone spending that kind of money. And by the way, surgery for transitioning is expensive as it is, so yeah. Anyone who believed this person is completely retarded. Anyways, I'm SkelettoQZ. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to check out my other videos. And with that being said, I am out.